situation. Number 3, the Raiders. If you like Mendoza, then your biggest issue for the franchise is fixed. You have the number 1 pick. I know people say there's not a good quarterback draft, and Dante Moore going back makes it even less of a good quarterback draft. But it doesn't have to be a good quarterback draft if you have pick 1-1 and there's one quarterback in it you like. Now, they have the number 1 pick and a ton of money, Brew. Yeah. Now, what is remarkable is, you remember Art Shell, the late Art Shell? Art Shell's first stint with the Raiders ended just over 30 years ago. Since then, they have had 14 head coaches. And other than John Gruden, who had a long tenure and then came back with a decent length tenure before it ended in disgrace, and Jack Del Rio, who got 3 years, they've had a dozen head coaches and none of them made it 3 years. So they have money to spend. They're in a new, cool stadium. They're in a new city, and they're number 1 pick.
Yes. Yep. The Raiders are also among my top choices for this head coaching cycle. Full disclosure, this is now my 3rd video on these openings, because my 3 primary focal teams are actually the Steelers, the Raiders, and the Falcons. This isn't to suggest the other available positions are undesirable or that I wouldn't want to coach those franchises, but these 3 currently occupy the highest tier in my personal evaluation. There are certainly compelling cases to be made for New York and Tennessee. Arguments exist for virtually all of them, with the exception of Arizona and Cleveland. I'm not particularly enthusiastic about those coaching prospects, and I'll be honest, Baltimore falls into a similar category for me, though I won't delve into the specifics here. Regarding Las Vegas, my consideration heavily involves the fan base. I've discussed this element with other teams, but the Raiders are unequivocally one of those fan bases that desperately, passionately yearn for their team to be great. I am telling you right now, the moment the Raiders transform into a legitimate, fully functioning, competitive franchise in the NFL, their support will explode. The fans will be utterly relentless. They are so profoundly hungry for meaningful football, wanting the Raiders to succeed with an intensity that is palpable. This is overwhelmingly obvious and clear to me on every single Raiders-focused video I produce. My sentiment watching their engagement is always, please be good, please become great, please provide us with more reasons to discuss you at length. Therefore, the idea that I could be the coach to lead that team and harness that raw passion is incredibly exciting. I don't have an extensive amount of life experience in Vegas itself. To be fair, my primary exposure has been the quintessential Vegas experience, the Strip, the attractions, so I'm not super familiar with the day-to-day lifestyle away from the tourist centers. However, I do have a significant appreciation for the desert. The desert environment is a sneaky, underrated, awesome place to be. The outskirts are genuinely tranquil, quite rural, and laid back, which is something I personally value highly. You're also just a relatively short journey from major hubs like Los Angeles and San Diego. So, from a pure livability standpoint, I find that appealing. My most significant reservation about Vegas, and this isn't a fan-centric concern, but one from a head coaching perspective, is Tom Brady's influence on the organization and the degree of authority he wields. That dynamic can become peculiar. To reiterate, if I were a Raiders fan, I likely wouldn't mind. I'd probably think, great, let Brady have some input. But if I'm the man hired to be the head coach, attempting to create and build something from the ground up, I need clarity. Is Brady perpetually a background presence? Is he consistently involved behind the scenes? What is the actual structure? Ben Johnson's decision to choose Chicago over the opportunity to work with Brady and the Raiders is a noteworthy data point. It's certainly something to consider. He was evidently not comfortable with the direction or the setup there. So they are going to need a fresh, clean start. And you, as the new coach, would step into this fantastic situation. If you believe in a prospect like J.J. McCarthy, you get to begin that journey immediately. As I mentioned in previous videos, I'm viewing this through the lens of a quarterback-focused, offensive-minded coach. So, if I'm looking for a head coaching position and I believe in McCarthy and am excited to develop him, then this becomes nearly a no-brainer. You go to Vegas, you have the space and the runway to grow, you have a brand new quarterback, allowing you to address the most critical roster problem right away. You might even be granted the latitude to struggle somewhat in that first year, secure another high draft pick, and then truly hit your stride in year 2. It's a perfect setup. All right, let's get to work. Year 2 is when we really make our move. If McCarthy is as talented as many believe, we could find ourselves in a situation similar to the Denver Broncos, where the first year is surprisingly competent, you make key moves, operate in free agency, and then by the second year, you're genuinely competitive. I'm also analyzing the landscape from a strategic, long-term vantage point. Patrick Mahomes is aging. Andy Reid will retire eventually. Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh in Los Angeles form a formidable duo. Bo Nix and Sean Payton in Denver are also a great pairing. That's the competitive environment. But if I'm a coach, I'm going to trust my own process. I would then have the youngest starting quarterback in the division. The financial benefit of a quarterback on a rookie contract resets the team's cap dynamics. Bo Nix will be due for a significant contract soon, or Denver may determine he isn't their long-term answer and have to move on. Either scenario could work to my advantage if I'm coaching the Raiders. Herbert is already on a massive contract and isn't getting younger. He's not old, but he's accumulated some wear and tear, and the Chargers have thus far struggled to build a complete team around him. Now, I am in no way, shape, or form declaring the Mahomes-Reid dynasty in Kansas City over, finished, or incapable of winning again. That would be a ridiculous assertion. However, it is objectively closer to its conclusion than its beginning. If we're being honest, the probability of their next 8 years resembling the dominance of their last 8 is incredibly low. So, you're now discussing entering a division where they will eventually need to hire a new head coach and figure out a post-Reid identity. And let's be real, they will likely linger with Mahomes even as he declines. They'll hold on, hoping for a resurgence. As a divisional rival coach, I would love that. He's clearly past his prime, but you don't want to move on. I understand why, but you'll keep trying to squeeze out production, and I'll be there to take advantage with my quarterback entering his prime and my team peaking. From a pure competitive advantage standpoint, the timing could be ideal. Of course, in the initial years of my tenure with the Raiders, I'd still have to contend with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, which will be brutally difficult. Sean Payton will be a tough opponent. Jim Harbaugh will be a tough opponent. Those are all legitimate coaching duels, but I would back myself and my plan. Furthermore, an element people don't discuss nearly enough is the sheer importance of timing. It was perfect timing that the Patriots dominated their division while others floundered. Josh Allen entered the scene just as Tom Brady departed the AFC East. That was perfect timing. The same applies to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' ascent. Timing is everything in these cycles. The Raiders could be positioning themselves for a period where the timing of their quarterback's development and prime, coupled with a favorable contract, aligns perfectly with the life cycle of their divisional rivals. You could find yourself in an optimal window where you possess superior youth, health, and financial flexibility compared to the other teams in the AFC West. That becomes a massive inherent advantage. As mentioned, those other teams should, in theory, hit their peak before you do, and then begin their decline just as you are entering your prime. You get to capitalize on that. Even if it's only for a few seasons, they will simultaneously be grappling with difficult questions. Do we extend our expensive veteran quarterback? How do we manage this cap situation? Who is our coach of the future? They will theoretically face much more complex and constraining decisions than you will. I genuinely appreciate the potential timing of it all, a factor that rarely gets serious discussion because we seldom want to contemplate the aging curves of players and coaches. We prefer to imagine current power structures will persist indefinitely, and we also often hesitate to acknowledge that a significant component of any team's sustained success is fortunate timing within their competitive landscape. It has been a massive advantage for the Chiefs that the Raiders have been in a state of flux, cycling through coaches and quarterbacks. That stability disparity provided a huge boost to Kansas City, just as the Patriots benefited for years from instability elsewhere in the AFC East, and just as the Cowboys during their 90s run benefited from the Eagles, Commanders, and Giants all trying to find their footing. If you can build a formidable team in Las Vegas and enter your competitive peak while the other teams in your division are forced into transitional phases, dealing with an older, potentially banged-up Justin Herbert on a huge deal, an expensive Bo Nix decision, and an aging, highly compensated Patrick Mahomes possibly without Andy Reid, you are in an enviable position. At that point, Reid is likely retired, and they'll have a new coach. Maybe they nail that hire, maybe they don't. The point is, increased uncertainty surrounds them. If you, as the Raiders, have already found your answers at quarterback and head coach, it places you in a phenomenal strategic situation. An absolutely awesome situation. But those are simply my thoughts and analyses. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about the Las Vegas Raiders head coaching vacancy? Do you believe it ranks among the top jobs available this cycle? Let me know your perspectives in the comments section below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's engage in some discussions. Let's engage in some spirited debates. But ultimately, let's just have some fun with it. Please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you become a part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're truly excited to be involved with. I believe we are well on our way to achieving that. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it genuinely helps with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.